You are unmuted.
What's back to session? You may be seated.
Bring the witness in, please.
Just be mindful to step up and remember what's going on.
So, jurors, before we begin, Mr. Lally, as you approach the podium there, when I tell you that I strike something from the record, I know I've told you before, that means you're not to consider it, okay? Go ahead, Mr. Lally.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
So, with reference to, I believe before we broke, we were talking a bit about Julie Albert and Christopher Albert, correct?
Yes.
And how would you describe your relationship, if any, between Julie Albert and Christopher Albert prior to January 29, 2022?
Loose acquaintances?
People that you knew through your sister, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, with reference to the occasions that you had said where you may have been at the same place at the same time at a family function or something like that, over what period of time are we talking about, and about how many different instances of that occurred over those years?
Like I mentioned, they had never been at my house. So it was either at my sister's home or at my parents' house. I might have been at the same function half a dozen times.
And at those times that you were at the same function a half a dozen times or so, how much interaction would you have with either Christopher Albert or Julie Albert, or even Colin Albert at those functions?
Just casual conversation, be cordial, and just typical conversations, you know, hi, how's it going, things of that nature.
Now, with reference to these experiences or relationships or lack thereof that you had with Christopher and Julie Albert, what, if any, conversations did you have with your supervisors as far as superior officers in your unit in regard to?
I explained the connection with my sister to the Albert family.
And who did you explain that to?
That would be Sergeant Mechanic, Lieutenant Fanning, and Detective Lieutenant Tully.
All right, Trooper, I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up, maybe approach the microphone a little closer.
And just with respect to those disclosures, what specifically did you tell either Sergeant Mechanic, Lieutenant Fanning, or Lieutenant Tully?
Basically that the Alberts are my sister's friends, that I've been at some functions with them, and the only kind of connection with the Albert family is through my sister.
And just when you say the Alberts, as far as who specifically within the Alberts are you talking about that had a friendship with your sister?
Julie, Chris, and their son Colin.
Now, with regard to the investigation that you were conducting and the interviews that you conducted, what, if any, impact did those relationships have with regard to your interviews of them specifically, or the investigation in total?
Zero. Absolutely zero impact on this investigation.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Sir, I'm showing you a document. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what do you recognize it to be?
It's a text message thread labeled Proctor Friends.
Now, over the course of your investigation, over the course of this case, are you aware that there were iCloud data that was obtained from your personal cell phone
Yes,
and different text strings from that iCloud data from your personal cell phone, correct?
correct.
And with respect to what has just been placed before you, is that an excerpt or piece from those particular messages?
It is.
And from the front page of that, can you tell the jury who are sort of the participants in this particular text communication?
There's several numbers that aren't identified. The three that are under kind of nicknames me and my buddies have for each other.
And generally speaking, just as far as the participants in this text communication, who are these people to you, and how do you know them? How long have you known them? Who are they?
The members on this text thread are close friends from junior high, first grade even.
So people you've known for years, is that correct?
Correct.
And do each of them live, or do any of them live within the general area at this time?
Some of them do, yes.
And so when some of them do not, is that correct?
Correct.
And the ones that do not, how far away do they live?
As far away as Tennessee.
Now, with reference to this, there's an indication as far as the first message sent or last message sent from this particular text chain, correct?
I'm sorry, repeat the question, please.
Sure. Sort of towards the middle of the first page. Help direct your attention to that area. Is there any indication as far as the first message sent and the last message sent with respect to this text chain?
On the first page, yes.
And what is indicated as far as the first message and the last message?
The first message is, I need to brandish a gun more often. The last is Chip, name of that BPD cop.
No, I'm sorry, sir. If I could direct your attention to the first page in this packet, page 2527, do you see conversation details? I'm sorry, may I approach?
Yes.
If I could direct your attention to the right.
Okay,
Do you see what I was talking about now?
I do, sir.
And from that area labeled conversation details, there's a first message sent date and time and a last message sent date and time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What is the first message sent date and time?
It's 10/18 of 2021 at 8:48 a.m. The last message sent is 8/31/2022 at 11:19 p.m.
And is there also within that conversation details an indication as far as the number of messages over that time frame within this communication?
There is.
And what does it list for number of messages?
It's 38,707.
And fair to say the packet that you have before you does not contain all 38,707 messages, correct?
That's correct.
The first message that you had, I believe, alluded to in reference to the first one listed within this communication, what date and time is that?
That was January 29th, 2022 at 10:36 p.m.
And who is that message from?
My friend who lives in Tennessee.
And what, if anything, did he send to the group?
I need to brandish a gun more often.
And if you know, what is that in reference to?
He just recently moved to Tennessee, and he was kind of, I think, making a joke as kind of the lifestyle down there where guns are more prominent or more common to be carried around there. So I interpreted that as a joke in that nature.
And the next message, sir, from that same page, 2527.
The next one is, it's bold.
And is there a name associated with that number that's in these?
No,
Do you know who that person is?
I don't.
And the next message, sir, from 10:52 p.m.
Chip, name of that BPD cop.
And Chip, who is that referring to, sir?
That is one of my nicknames I've had since maybe high school.
So a nickname that would be familiar amongst these group of friends in particular?
Yes.
And this time period when these text messages begin, sometime after 10:30 or 10:50 p.m. on January 29th, where are you and what are you doing in reference around that time period?
At this point in time, on the 29th, I'm home.
And that last text message, did you respond to that at approximately 10:53 p.m.?
Yes.
And what was your response?
John O'Keefe.
And the next message down from there, also at 10:53 p.m.?
Yes. He took custody of his sister's kids.
That's your response. There's another response above that. Is that correct?
Yes.
What does that say?
How old?
And you respond as far as he took custody of his sister's kid, correct?
Correct.
Skipping down a couple, do you see an entry at 10:53:49 p.m.?
Yes.
And that's from a 617 number. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what is the response there?
Oh man, that's rough.
And following that, do you respond to the earlier query as far as age?
I do.
And what did you say?
Mid 40s.
Now, the next message below that, as far as indication of mid 40s, what is that?
His age.
No, I understand that. I'm sorry. The next message underneath that, sir.
I'm sorry. It's a Facebook link.
And do you recall what that Facebook link is to?
It's to John O'Keefe.
And is that something you sent or one of your friends sent?
One of my friends sent.
And the next message below, turning to now page 2529 at the top there, what is the next message that's sent?
What's that? Don't have the book anymore.
And as far as the book, what did you understand that to be? Thank you, Coach.
Sure. A 10-minute break. Okay.
Doing all right,
So do you have that copy for me?
All right.
You are
Put the witness
unmuted.
back, please.
You mind accepting the Trooper? Still on the oath?
Yes, sir.
Proceed, Your Honor.
Yes.
Trooper, if I could direct you back to page 2529 within that packet before you. And below that text stating what's that, I don't have the book anymore. You respond, is that correct?
Yes.
And what is it that you say there?
This one is a nightmare. Forget about the kids. That's awful.
And sir, if I could direct your attention again within that same packet to 2532. And there's a message there sent at 10:56 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And who's that from?
A friend who lives in Tennessee.
And what does he say in that text?
I'm sure the owner of the house will receive some shit.
And you respond at 10:56 as well as 10:57. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what is it that you respond?
My first response was nope. Homeowner is a Boston cop too.
And what, if anything, were you saying, or what was the purpose of that text in regard to the homeowner?
I was just letting him know that essentially Mr. O'Keefe is a Boston cop and the homeowner was a Boston cop as well.
Now, if I could turn your attention to 2533. And top of the page, sir, if you could read through that page as far as who's texting and what do they say?
Again, for my friend from Tennessee and myself, I hope not, but I can't see it. I responded with, she waffled him. I looked at his body at the hospital. He was banged up.
Now, as far as the next text from a 781 number,
Mhm.
What does that say?
Did he get beat up?
And you responded to that, is that correct?
I did.
The objection sustained as to form.
What, if any, response did you provide to that?
Nope.
Objection. The objection was to the former question and the answer.
I'll strike it.
Now, turning your attention to 2534. And from this page, sir, if you could again just read through as far as indicating to the jury who's speaking and what is being said.
From the start of the first text, so the owner of the house?
Yes.
So the owner of the house was a woman cop that beat him? That's what I initially thought after talking to Canton paramedic. Then I saw the guy.
And those last two are your responses, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, the following text messages are from your friend, is that correct?
Yes.
What do they say?
Bear, let's focus. What does she waffle to mean? What's the story? I responded, she hit him with her car.
And the she that you're referring to there, who was that?
Miss Reed.
Now turning your attention to the next page, 2535. Again, if you could start at the top of the page and read through that page and just indicate to the jury who is talking and what is being said.
Okay. My friend in Tennessee states, okay, that's fucked up. I respond, intentional or not. Then another response, gotcha. He was frozen in the driveway and she didn't see him, question mark. That's another animal we won't be able to prove. And then I respond, they arrived at the house together, gone to an argument.
Anyone speak out loud or out of turn?
The objection's overruled.
Your Honor,
But
if I could say this, there needs to be an identifier of who's speaking.
I understand what you think the mix-up is. So, Mr. Lally, go back.
Thank you.
Sir, if you could please, again, start at the top of the page and just indicate.
No,
as you go-
just after the, gotcha, he was frozen in the driveway, correct, Mr. Jackson?
That's correct, Your Honor. Thank you.
I respond, that's another animal we won't be able to prove. I follow that up. They arrived at the house together, got into an argument. She was driving and left. 781 number responds with, what's the name of the Canton cop living in Canton, the other one involved.
And how do you respond to that, sir?
There's several other messages before I issue a response.
Objection again. Bottom of the page.
So it's not an objection, but Mr. Lally, why don't you point him?
So, sir, at the bottom of page 2535, you have a response. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what is that response?
They arrived at the house together, got into an argument. She was driving and left.
Objection.
So it's going to be a matter you can address on cross.
There has to be some accuracy. The reading
So
is-
I understand. So, Mr. Lally, why don't you go point for your witness?
Mayor Proctor.
Yes.
hmm Okay. It's a HTML link, whiteout /Proctor iCloud /group chat Feb 2022. So you point out.
Can I see what you have for a second, please?
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Lally, it's on there. Why don't you go show your witness? Why don't you just read it, Mr. Lally, and tell us who you attribute it to?
So, sir, what I'm asking you about is the bottom of page 2535, excuse me, 2535. You indicated biffed him, correct?
Correct.
What did you mean by that?
That Miss Reed had struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2537. Now, do you see a response toward the bottom of the page from yourself, January 29, 2022 at 11:04 p.m.?
Yes.
And can you read that response for the jury?
Yeah, but there'll be some serious charges brought on the girl.
And what did you mean by that, sir?
That throughout the course of the day, we had compelling evidence that Miss Reed struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
And you have two responses from friends, the same friends at the bottom of that page, 2537. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what are those responses?
Keep your voice up loud, please. Trooper Proctor, jurors can't hear you.
Yes, Your Honor. Number ending in 5051. Got to be. I can only imagine what internal affairs of the BPD are trying to get out there. The second response, same number. She hot at least.
And turning your attention to the next page, 2538, at the top, if you could just read a series of responses from yourself, correct?
Yes, sir.
Read from those, sir.
Yep. So these came from me. From all accounts, he didn't do anything wrong. She's a whack job. CUNT.
Objection.
So don't spell it. You have to. So these are your words, Trooper Proctor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and say them.
Cunt. Yes, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though. No ass.
And sir, what is it that you were referring to there, or why would you text that?
These were, from all accounts, he didn't do anything wrong. Is talking about the homeowner, Mr. Albert. I had mentioned the compelling evidence against Miss Reed at this point indicated that Mr. Albert had nothing to do with Mr. O'Keefe's death. The rest of the unprofessional and regrettable comments are something I'm not proud of, and I shouldn't have wrote in a private or any type of setting.
Sir, at some point, if I could turn your attention to page 2540. And there's a photograph that's shared within this text communication, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And does it indicate who shared that photograph? From the prior page, possible.
The number ending in 5051.
And who is depicted in that photograph that was shared within the group text?
It's Miss Reed being escorted out of the State Police Milton Barracks.
And these are all from February 1st of 2022, around that time frame, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, sir, if I could direct you to page 2543. And sir, if I could direct you to the top of the page and ask you to read through that page, indicating who's speaking and what the content of those communications are.
Okay. Number ending in 4146. Question is that chick a smoke? Again, 4146 question mark. I respond EH. I respond again, nutbag, as chief would say. I also respond with, she's got a leaky balloon knot, leaks poo.
And what, if anything, is that in reference to, sir?
Again, to Ms. Reed's some medical conditions there. Again, unprofessional comments I should not have made, and that I'm not proud of.
As far as attitudes expressed within these text messages and other text messages, what, if any, impact did that have as far as your investigation was concerned regarding these?
These juvenile, unprofessional comments have zero impact on the facts and the evidence and the integrity of this investigation. They said these are unprofessional comments, but they absolutely do not detract from the integrity of the investigation or the facts and evidence of it.
Your Honor, may I approach this retreat?
Yes.
Now, Trooper Proctor, contained within, you've seen text messages amongst yourself and a variety of different people from that same sort of iCloud area of your personal phone, correct?
Correct.
And among those, are there communications that you had with members of the Kin Police Department?
Yes.
And how would you characterize, or what was the general content of communications that you had with members of the Kin Police Department?
One communication was to coordinate interview times for firefighters and police officers and to set up a conference room where those interviews could be conducted. Obviously, the presence of Canton detectives or any police officers were not going to be sitting in on these interviews. Another communication was to inquire of relevant security videos that are in the area. Their local department, they know the area very well, so I reached out and asked if there's some good cameras in the area that I had of kind of interest in.
Your Honor, may I approach the
Yes.
witness? I'm showing you another document, just asking if you recognize that.
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize that to be, sir?
Text communications between my sister and I.
That's your sister Courtney, is that correct?
That's correct.
And similar to what I'd asked you about the prior packet, as far as a first message sent date and time, last message sent date and time, what is indicated on this first?
First message sent date time, December 10th, 2021 at 9:33 p.m. Last message sent 8:30, 2022 at 8:48 p.m.
And 8:30, that's August 30th, is that correct?
I'm sorry, yes, August 30th, 2022.
And similarly to the other messages, is there an indication as far as how many number of messages were sent between yourself and your sister over that time period?
2,865.
And fair to say that the documents in front of you do not contain 2,865 messages?
Correct.
Now, just in reference to the first message on page 2662, the first page in this packet, do you see that from December 10th of 2021 at approximately 9:33 p.m.?
Yes.
And what does that indicate?
A text message from my sister.
And what does it say?
I called earlier, Dolph earlier, and mom was puking in the background.
And do you recall what that was in regard to?
From the sounds of it, my mother had a stomach bug.
And sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2667. And these are text messages from January 29th, 2022, between yourself and your sister Courtney, correct?
Correct.
And if you could read from the top of the page through the end, and please indicate to the jury as far as who's talking and who's saying what.
So I texted my sister at work, "What's up?" She responds, "What? Why?" I respond, "I just found it frozen to death on a front lawn in Canton this morning. Actually, just interviewed Jen McCabe. Said she knows you."
And they knows you, who are you referring to?
My sister.
And how did your sister respond to that?
Cut the shit. I responded, "You." It was a typo correction with my response to you. She responded, "Yeah, she knows Jack very well. She's really good friends with Julie." My sister continues on. Her sister is married to Brian Albert. My sister asks, "You still working?" ? I says, "Yeah, going to be out for a while. Homicide."
And as far as your answers to those questions, or as far as your communications that you have with your sister at this time, on the afternoon of January 29th, what were those in regard to, or why were you communicating that to your sister?
At that time, it was just kind of in the news. I was just kind of letting her know I was out working. She didn't share anything specific. I wouldn't share anything specific on cases with my family or anyone. It was just kind of an overall innocent conversation.
Now, turning your attention to the next page, 2669. Again, if you could read from that page as far as who was talking and what the content is.
All right. My sister starts off, "The Can't thing is a homicide." I respond, "This is at 3 in the afternoon on the 29th. Don't say a word to anyone." She said, "Of course not." I respond, "In the very least, it's suspicious." She responds, "This is your livelihood." And then I would never miss with that. 3:07, I respond, "Julie and Chris were at the bar with the victim and girlfriend. Got to interview them."
Direct your attention to page 2672. These are messages from February 1st, 2022. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the one at the top starts about February 1st, 5:57 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And again, if you could read through as far as who's speaking and what the content of those messages are.
I texted my sister, "What's up?" She responded, "Nothing. I just saw Julie, and she said when this is all over, she wants to get you a thank you gift." And I respond, "Get Elizabeth one." Elizabeth's my wife. And my sister responds, "Because I guess her and Chris were friends with John, and she's so proud of you for leading this." And then she writes, "Elizabeth?" ? I respond with, "She's been stuck with the kids for the last 10 nights. My sister responded with, "Yeah, but she knew what life is like married to a cop."
And sir, as far as the gift that's mentioned, as far as Julie Albert, is that anything that you have received at any point in time?
I never received a gift. I never asked for a gift. My wife never received a gift. She never asked for a gift.
How would you describe this context of this conversation, or why that's being discussed at this time?
Again, I don't know the thought process of my sister and Julie as far as bringing that idea of a gift into play. Like I said, I didn't ask for one. I never received one. The same with my wife.
Sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2676. And again, if I could ask you to start at the top of the page and read through and just indicate as far as who is saying, who is speaking and what they're talking.
I start out, "We write like 8 to 12 warrants on each case." My sister responded, "No, I have no idea what the hell you do or how it works." I responded on the 10th at 7:36 p.m. "I'm starving, but I also just want to go home. Thanks, though." My sister responds, "Yeah, but is dinner going to be waiting?" She responded with, "Ha, ha, ha." And then I responded, "Yep." And then my sister responded with, "Okay, it's fine. Mom and I just don't want to go home."
May I approach, Ron?
Yes.
Mhm.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
document, sir? Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that?
This is private messages between my wife and I,
Again, what is your wife's name?
Elizabeth.
And what, if anything, does that indicate as far as dates and times and number of messages involved?
Okay, so the first message sent 5/20/2022 at 6:19 p.m. The last message sent 8/31/2022 at 9:16 p.m.
And what, if any, indication does it give as far as number of messages within that text chain?
1,632.
And of those 1,162, there's one message that's listed on that. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what is the date and time of that message, and what does it say, and who's speaking?
This is me speaking on June 9th, 2022 at 4:56 p.m. I text my wife, waiting to lock this whack job up.
And what are you referring to in that text, sir?
I'm referring to the arrest after Ms. Reed was indicted by the grand jury.
And again, as far as the terminology that you use in that text message to your wife, why is that?
Again, unprofessional messages I should not have sent. I don't have an explanation other than they're regrettable and it's something I'm not proud of, the language I used.
I approach to retrieve your.
Yes. All right, so Trooper Proctor, the jurors can't hear you. So speak directly into your microphone the way I'm doing, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Maybe approach on this one.
Okay.
Unmuted.
Now, Trooper Proctor, familiar with conversations that within the same text communications from your personal phone with colleagues of yours at the state police?
Yes.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Sorry. May I have a moment with counsel?
Okay.
Thank you. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Showing you another document, sir. Before I get into that, though, if I could turn your attention back to some of the comments on the language used in the January 29th and February 1st or 2nd text communications among your friend group. With reference to at that particular time frame in the language that you used, what sort of information had you gathered to that point, and why would you say or use that particular language in your, particularly in your descriptions of the defendant?
So this is, 16, 18 hours later, and we conducted multiple interviews.
Speak up.
Conducted multiple interviews. We knew Mr. O'Keefe never went into Fairview Road. We knew there was one shoe at the scene, one shoe at the hospital. Mr. O'Keefe's, based off Mr. O'Keefe's injuries, Miss Reed's statements when Sergeant Buchanan and I interviewed her, her broken taillight, the missing taillight, some taillight pieces found at the scene, the compelling evidence pointing directly at Miss Reed that she struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle led me to make those comments. Whether, like I said, they weren't professional comments, but based on the day's investigation, it was clear that Miss Reed had struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
Sir, if I could turn your attention to the documents before you, do you recognize those?
I do.
And as far as the participants in that particular conversation, who were the participants listed there?
It's Trooper David DeChico and myself.
And Trooper DeChico and yourself both worked within the same unit with the state police, is that correct?
It's correct.
And beyond the professional relationship you have with yourself, between yourself and Trooper DeChico, how would you characterize your relationship, generally speaking?
We're buddies, we golf together, hang outside of work, our kids play together. So I'd say, we're friends.
Now, within the, again, as far as the first message sent, date and time, and last message sent, date and time within this conversation, if you could describe that for the jury.
First message sent, date and time, March 17th, 2022, 11:08 a.m. Last message sent, date and time, August 18th, 2022, 6:08 a.m.
And again, the number of messages listed within this text chain.
87.
And fair to say the documents before you do not contain 87 text messages, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Now, just in general terms, if you have an opportunity to just look at the first couple pages there, fair to say those are just sort of jokes that you have going back and forth between yourself and Trooper DeChico. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Now, if I could turn your attention specifically to page 2632. And these are text messages starting on April 28th, 2022 at 10:52 in the morning. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, what was the time again, sir?
April 28th, 2022, 10:52 a.m.
Yes, correct.
And again, sir, with reference to this page, if you could read the content to the jury and please indicate who is speaking at each respective times.
Okay. I start out without a doubt. He's got diarrhea of the mouth too. Trooper DeChico, rookie move, not going into a meeting with the ME and getting that homicide determination. I respond, Yuri and I had 2 conference calls with her, sent her numerous photos, etc. We laid out the entire case for her. Trooper DeChico responds, not good enough, should have had me or Jeff do it. I respond, if you two did it, she would have made it accidental or natural causes.
And can you explain the context of those communications, or what exactly is it that you and Trooper DeChico are talking about in that communication?
Okay, so the ME is the medical examiner. They conducted the autopsy of Mr. O'Keefe. Our office, it's kind of a little bit of a locker room.
Hold on, wait for the ambulance and then speak up. The jurors
Wrong.
can't hear you way back where the court officer's standing.
So like I said, the ME stands for medical examiner. They conducted the autopsy of Mr. O'Keefe. I guess I'll address the conference calls Sergeant Buchanan and I had with the medical examiner. The doctor had some questions as to the facts and evidence, kind of what had transpired, which is common. You know, even if it's a homicide, I've had many calls with the medical examiner's office, even if it's a suicide or overdose. Always with a homicide, the doctor wants to know what transpired. Trooper DeChico and myself, we kind of like to bust each other's chops, go back and forth. So that's what he meant by saying, rookie move, not going into a meeting with the ME and getting that homicide determination. The original determination came back.
Objection.
Sustained. Next question, Mr. Lally.
Now, as far as attending the autopsy, is that something that typically someone within your office would do, within your unit would do with regard to any sort of death investigation?
Yes.
And do you know who attended the autopsy of Mr. O'Keefe in this specific case?
Trooper Connor Keefe.
And so as far as Trooper DeChico's reference to you not going in, or Sergeant Buchanan not going in, is that what you believe Trooper DeChico was referring to in that message?
Objection.
Sustained as to the form.
You indicated that you and Trooper DeChico bust each other's chops. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And can you describe a little more, expound upon that as far as the nature of your relationship and sort of the text messages that you exchange in this and any other communications that you have?
Basically just, kind of needling each other, and him doing that is by saying, texting me, rookie move, not going into meeting with the medical examiner. So that's a perfect example of him kind of just needling me, which we do on a daily basis.
And as far as your interpretation of that, did you interpret that as a serious comment or something said in jest?
I interpreted that as a typical joke from Trooper DeChico.
Now, may I approach to retrieve?
Yes.
May I approach your room?
Yes.
Showing you another document, asking if you recognize that.
Yes.
You recognize that to be?
Text messages between myself and Trooper DeChico.
And again, what is the first message sent, date and time, last message sent, date and time, and number of messages contained therein?
First message sent, date and time, April 28th, 2022 at 1:09 p.m. Last message sent, date and time, April 28th, 2022, 4:45 p.m.
And the number of messages, sir?
4.
And if you could read the contents of those messages contained therein. Please indicate who's speaking.
So I started out, of course, it's undetermined. She was a whack job. Trooper Chico responds, "Dear God, WTF, what the hell is inconclusive about the whole thing?"
And as far as your indication there, as far as she was a whack job, who are you referring to there?
Miss Reed.
Now, as far as the undetermined of what you're talking about, what is sort of the content or the context of this conversation?
That would be the manner of death was determined to be undetermined by the medical examiner's office.
And so I ask you again, as far as your reference there in the bottom of the first page, as far as she was a whack job, whom do you believe you're referring to there?
Again,
Ms. Reed or the medical examiner?
Miss Reed.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes. You want to make, I take just a second for counsel. You want to maybe approach briefly on this packet?
You are unmuted.
May I approach the witness, Sean?
Yes.
They're handing you another set of documents. View those, look up when you're finished. Do you recognize those, sir?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize those to be?
Another text thread between myself, Trooper DeChico, and Trooper Kokowski.
And Trooper Kaskowski is another trooper within your unit in the state police, is that correct?
Yes.
And again, if you could read from the first message sent, date and time, and the last message sent, date and time.
First message sent, date and time, 5/24/2022, 9:21 p.m. Last message sent, date and time, 8/24/2022, 4:56 p.m.
And as far as the number of messages indicated within this text chain between yourself, Trooper Kakowski, and Trooper DeChico,
494.
fair to say the documents before you do not contain 494 text messages, correct?
Correct.
Just in reference to that first page, 2635, first message sent, that's May 24th, 2022, around 9:21 p.m., is that correct?
Yes.
And that's a message sent from Trooper Kaskowski, is that correct?
Correct.
And what is that?
Appears to be a picture of a toy Santa Claus.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2644. If I could direct you to the bottom of the page, sir, you see the text from yourself at June 9th, 2022 at 11:19 p.m.
Yes.
Very bottom of the page. And Your Honor, may I approach just to point it out?
Yes.
Yeah, I see it, sir. Okay.
If you could read what you wrote on June 9th, 2022, around that time, sir.
If you like women who shit themselves.
And again, sir, what is it that you're referring to there?
Again, a regrettable comment I made about Miss Reed's medical condition.
Now, if I could direct you to the following page, 2645. And again, if you could read from that page as far as who is, and indicate to the jury who is speaking and what is being said on page 2645.
I'm speaking right now. The statement she made tonight at 8/7 was mental. Thank Christ it was on BWC, which is body worn camera. Trooper Kokowski responds, "That's her. Smoke." Trooper Kokowski again, "What'd she say?" I respond, "Said the Alberts beat the shit out of O'Keefe, left him for dead, and that's why her taillight was cracked. She's gross." Trooper DeChico, "Oh, fuck her, bitch."
Thank you, sir. May I approach to retrieve, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sir, with reference to that last bit as far as June 9th, 2022, what was going on that day in reference to this matter again?
Miss Reed was being processed at the Milton Barracks.
Thank you. I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
Can we give another set of documents to recognize those?
I do.
What do you recognize those to be?
Another text thread with members from my office, troopers.
And who are the troopers that are listed within that?
Trooper Chris Moore, Trooper Jeff Kukowski, Lieutenant John Fanning, Trooper Dave DeChico, and Sergeant Yuri Buchanan.
And what is the first message sent, date and time?
That would be 5/26/2022 at 8:19 p.m. Last message sent, date and time, 8/26/2022, 5:36 p.m.
And what is listed as far as the number of messages within this chain?
651.
And fair to say the documents before you do not contain all 651 of those messages within this chain, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2682. You see a message sent from Trooper DeChico on August 17th, 2022 at 9:42 p.m.
Yes.
And is that an image contained on the next page, which is 2683?
Yes, it is.
And what is the image of?
That is a picture of Mr. Yannetti. Appears to be from quite some time ago.
Now, turning your attention to the next page, 2684. And there's a response from you, August 17th, 2022 at 9:44 p.m. Is that correct?
Sorry, sir. Go with the date and time again, please.
Sure. Page 2684, 8/17/2022, 9:44 p.m.
Yes,
You see there's like sort of three responses from you.
I have you now.
If you could just read the three responses from yourself, sir.
Okay, so these came from me. Funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. No nude so far. I hate that man. I truly hate him.
Now, with reference to the investigation at this point, when you're talking about his client's phone, who are you referring to?
Miss Reed.
And with regards to the phone at that point, can you describe for the jury sort of what's going on during this time period of August 17th, 2022 in regard to Ms. Reed's phone?
So after obtaining a search warrant for Miss Reed's phone, we weren't able to extract any data from it until August of 2023. Troopers in my office knew I was going through the phone that evening. I was most interested in location data, text messages, Google searches. That was the update I gave the troopers in the office. It was a distasteful joke. I should have gave a proper update instead of that. I wasn't able to go through the phone as thoroughly as possible because I came across some a text between an attorney and Ms. Reed, so I had to stop going through her phone, and I made my supervisor aware of those communications.
Now, just in reference to what you had just said, this is in August of 2022, is that correct?
Correct.
So after a search warrant is obtained for the defendant's phone, where did it go? You indicated you gave it to Trooper Garino, and where did it go from there?
Trooper Garino essentially hooks it up to a device called Gray Key, where it tries every possible combination passcodes in order to access the data contained in the phone.
And at that time, when you retrieved it pursuant to the search warrant, you didn't have the passcode to the defendant's phone, is that correct?
Correct.
So that device is designed to sort of go through numbers and try to find a combination to get into the phone, correct?
Correct.
And so from the time that you had seized it in late January or on January 29th, 2022, until this date in August of 2022, had you been able to get into the phone or see anything in the phone in those intervening months or 7 months between January and August?
No.
And so then at this time that you're sending this text message in August of 2022, is that around the time that you were first able to access the phone?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Yes, that was the first time we were able to have access to the phone.
And with reference to your access to the phone, were you looking for nudes or anything like that in regard to the defendant?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Like I stated, I was most interested in Miss Reed's location data, text communications, Google searches, things of that nature. More evidence contained within the phone.
And so, sir, you mentioned at some point you came across some information that caused you to sort of freeze your looking through the phone. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so, as far as that specific time period in August of 2022, when was the next time that you or any troopers from your office were able to actually look in any extraction of the defendant's phone?
So once I came across that text communication that took place on the 29th between Ms. Reed and an attorney, the phone had to be sent off to what they call a taint team to remove any attorney-client privilege information from the phone, and then it would be returned to us, as well as defense received a copy of that as well. I'm not positive on the time. It was quite a long turnaround for that process to be completed.
Sometime at least in the spring or summer of 2023. Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right.
May I approach to retrieve, Your Honor?
Yes.
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, so I'm going to see you at sidebar so I don't interrupt your cross.
You are unmuted.
All right, so just before you start then, so we'll finish at 4. We're trying to figure out the schedule this time. I'm going to meet with the lawyers and witnesses. We're trying to work all that out, but as it looks right now, I thought it was going to interfere with another day this week. As it looks right now, it may not. At the most, it will be half an afternoon or something, maybe on Friday, but it does now look good that we'll be able to continue with this. We're out tomorrow, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday will be full days, and we'll be able to keep moving. All right. All right, Mr. Jackson, go right ahead.
Thank you, Trooper Proctor, in the summer of 2022, August 17th specifically, you were sitting at your desk, presumably alone at your office, at about 10 p.m. at night, going through my client's personal cell phone, correct?
Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, you were sitting there texting with your friends and colleagues at Massachusetts State Police about you going through her personal cell phone. Is that right?
Correct, sir.
And that included Trooper DeChico, is that right?
DeChico, yes, sir.
Trooper Fanning, Trooper Buchnick, Trooper Moore, and Trooper Katzkowski.
Kakowski.
Tell me that again.
Kakowski.
Kakowski.
Yes, sir.
All right, all the consonants are silent. Fair enough. Trooper Fanning and Trooper Buchnick are your supervisors.
Yes.
And you were bragging to all 5 of them that you were going through Karen Reed's cell phone about 9:45 at night.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Is that right?
No, I wasn't bragging, sir.
How did you refer to Ms. Reed in that text exchange where you informed them that you were going through her phone?
I used regrettable language. I said going through his retarded client's phone right now.
You were shown a photograph of my colleague, Mr. Unetti, correct?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
Same document. I need a copy. Your Honor, I think the court has the copy that I was going to use.
I thought I gave him back to you.
You'd received a photograph. Actually, Your Honor, if I could, I would ask that this document be marked as next in order. Assuming the witness verifies its authenticity.
So go ahead.
Do you recognize this document?
I do, sir.
Same document that you were shown, copy of the same document that you were shown by Mr. Unetti, correct?
Still Lally.
I've done that twice. Mr. Lally.
Correct.
All right. Is that a true and accurate reflection of the text messages that you were exchanging with Chris Moore, Jeff Kakowski, John Fanning, Vito DeChico, and Yuri Buchanan?
Yes.
I'd ask that this be marked.
Okay, any objection?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'll see you outside. May I have that, please?
Yes, ma'am.
You You are unmuted.
567, Your Honor. Okay. And then I would ask you to give it back to the witness, please.
Thanks.
May I inquire, Your Honor?
Yes.
Trooper Proctor, Trooper DeChico had sent you a photograph of my colleague, Mr. Yannetti, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, because of the technical issue, I'm not going to display on the television. May I display this hard copy briefly?
Sure.
Thank you. You see that, gentleman?
I do, sir.
Is that the photograph that you received?
Yes.
Is that what you referred to on direct examination with Mr. Lally about receiving a photograph from Mr. Yannetti?
Correct.
And then your response was what?
I hate that man. I truly hate that man.
Actually, your response was, I'm going through his retarded client's phone right now, correct?
Yes, after the picture, sir. Yes.
Who's the retarded client?
I was referring to Miss Reed again, unprofessional language.
I'm asking who you were referring to.
Miss
I know
Reed.
You got an explanation. Who was it that you were referring to as retarded?
Miss Reed.
Karen Reed, the woman sitting to my left.
Yes, sir.
The subject of your investigation as a professional, correct?
Yes, sir.
As an unbiased, objective investigator. The person that you were investigating, you referred to your bosses as retarded, correct?
Again, poor language on my part.
Poor language is one way to put it. Completely offensive is another way to put it, right?
Objection.
I've got to sustain that, Mr. Jackson.
After you referred to my client as retarded, then you decided to make a comment about Mr. Yannetti, her lawyer, correct?
Correct.
And what did you say about Mr. Yannetti again?
I hate that man. I truly hate that man.
I hate that man. I truly hate him,
Mhm.
correct?
Correct.
You didn't say I dislike him, disagree with him. You said I hate him, correct?
Correct, sir.
That's a visceral response to someone who's just doing a job, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently.
Sure. Let me ask it this way. Were you upset or annoyed or pissed off that Karen Reed had gotten representation, legal representation, to represent her?
No, not at all. That's her right.
Well, let me ask you this. In August of 2022, you said you absolutely hate him, correct?
I don't know if I use absolutely. Yeah, I didn't use absolutely, sir.
You used truly, correct?
Truly, yes.
How do you feel about him now? He's sitting right there.
I still don't
Objection.
care for him, no.
I'll let it stand.
What did you tell your colleagues that you were looking for as you sat at almost 10 p.m. at night on a Wednesday night, August 17th, 2022, looking through Karen Reed's phone?
I didn't tell them I was looking through anything. They knew I was going through Miss Reed's phone. I provided a inappropriate joke as an update. They knew I was going through location data, text messages, Google searches. But like I had mentioned earlier, I had to stop.
Except Trooper Proctor, none of that really professional sounding stuff ended up in your comments to your bosses, did it?
Again, it was a poor joke.
Is that yes or no?
They did not know.
It did not.
No,
As a
sir.
matter of fact, what did you write after you talked about going through the quote retarded client's phone?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No nudes so far.
No nudes so far,
Mhm.
correct?
Correct.
And you said that to your bosses.
Yes, sir.
You were looking for naked photographs of Miss Reed on a Wednesday night as you sat in your office at 9:44 p.m., correct?
No, not correct.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked for naked photos of a male suspect that you were investigating?
I don't look for naked photos in anyone's phones.
But you said you were looking for nudes of Miss Reed,
Like I had
correct?
said, Mr. Jackson, it was an inappropriate joke.
So this is a citizen. She's a woman. You were supposed to be objectively investigating. Does your text message to your colleagues at Massachusetts State Police reflect an objective investigation of a citizen?
Objection.
You can get part of that question and ask it again.
Do you believe that your text messages were reflective of an objective investigator?
Objection.
I'll allow that. Do you believe that, Trooper Proctor?
I believe poor jokes have, in unprofessional language, have no bearing on the integrity and the facts and physical evidence of this case.
It's not that they don't have any bearing on the facts and integrity. It's that they have no place in a professional investigation because it shows bias, right?
Objection.
So I have to sustain that as asked. Go ahead and ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
You weren't so much as objectively investigating Karen Reed as objectifying her, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Isn't that right?
Rephrase the question, please.
You weren't so much as objectively investigating her as objectifying her in those moments, correct?
Again, Mr. Jackson, it was a poor choice of words and a joke that I should not have texted out. But from the start of the investigation, we didn't know what we had.
And your, Trooper Proctor, your point in saying no nudes so far to your colleagues in Massachusetts State Police was to suggest that you were looking for nudes and you'd update them when you found them, correct?
Incorrect.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you find any nudes of
Again.
Karen Reed?
I didn't go through the photos, sir.
Did you find any nudes of Karen Reed?
I didn't go through the photos, sir.
You weren't successful in your quest.
I came across text messages from Miss Reed to another attorney on January 29th, so I had to stop looking through her phone.
So you got sidetracked before you could get to the naked pictures of Miss Reed. Is that what you're saying?
Objection.
Sustained.
To be clear, when you sent those text messages on that group chat, those text messages included, as we said, or as you said, not one, but two of your supervisors, correct?
Correct.
Were you ever reprimanded for your conduct in sending that text message?
Objection.
So that's sustained. Do we need to go to sidebar based on what you told me earlier?
We do not.
Okay, so,
I'll ask it a different way.
okay.
Did either Trooper Fanning or Trooper Buchanan dress you down in a responsive text message in that text thread for doing something so abhorrent as looking for nudes or referring to nudes of a female suspect or subject of your investigation? Did that ever happen?
Not that I can recall.
As a matter of fact, in reference to one of the text messages in this same string, your boss, Yuri Buchanan, actually responded to the photo of Mr. Yannetti, didn't he?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
He did, sir.
After you received the photo, that's when you said, I'm, quote, funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. Is that right?
Objection.
I'll allow this, but not too many more.
Sure. Is that correct? It's on the top of page
Yes, sir.
2685.
That's correct.
And Yuri Buchanan liked that comment. Funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. Didn't he?
I see you laughed at an image here, sir. I can't tell if he liked that comment, sir.
May I approach?
Yes.
I don't know if it's just because it's faded or, yeah, my copy's faded.
Top 2685. You can use my copy if that helps.
All right. Thank you.
What do you see on the top of that page?
that Sergeant Mechanic liked it.
Like what?
The going through his retarded client's phone, sir.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'll take my copy.
There you go.
So your supervisors at Massachusetts State Police not only didn't ride you for making comments like this, they encouraged it.
Objection.
Sustained.
Trooper Proctor, this is your direct chain of command. Is that right? You're a Buchanan.
Yes, sir.
Did you believe that your conduct was a misuse of your authority and power as you were going through her phone in August of 2022?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No, I had a warrant signed by a district clerk, Stoughton District Clerk, to go through Miss Reed's phone. I don't think it was an abuse of power. I had every right to go through that phone.
Did the warrant say anything about looking for nudes of my client?
Objection.
Did it
No,
say anything about that?
Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
So that would be an abuse of the power that was given to you by the court, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Trooper Proctor, you'd agree that the hallmark of any good investigation, as you've been taught and others in the Massachusetts State Police have been taught, is that the investigation and the investigator have to be fair. They have to be impartial. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Meaning that the investigation has to be free of conflicts, right?
Yes, sir.
The investigator has to be free of conflicts, right?
Yes,
The investigation has to be free of bias. Is that right?
correct.
You can't be biased against the person that you're investigating. That would compromise the entire thing, wouldn't it?
Yes,
Basically, you follow the evidence. You're supposed to follow the evidence wherever it takes you, right?
correct.
Good or bad, top to bottom, just follow the evidence and report it back. That's how an investigation is supposed to be run, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And these are things that you learn early on at Massachusetts State Police Academy and then in your detective training. Isn't that right?
It is.
Literally, it's part of an oath that you took at the academy that you will, quote, faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all of the duties incumbent on you as a Massachusetts State Police trooper, right?
Yes, sir.
You swore that oath.
I did.
When you start an investigation, everybody in that investigation should be treated exactly the same. Don't you believe that's true?
Correct.
Everybody, have you ever heard the phrase, everybody's a suspect until they're not? Right?
I've-
Objection.
Sustained.
It's especially important early in an investigation before all of the facts are known that the investigator is not compromised by bias, prejudice, right?
Correct.
Most important early in the investigation, because that's when the most things are up in the air. There's the cloud, the fog of not knowing exactly what the truth is, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
In other words, Trooper Proctor, you don't get to pick a suspect and then try to find evidence to support your choice, right?
Correct.
But in this case, it's exactly what you did, isn't it?
Absolutely not.
All right, Mr. Jackson, why don't we end for today?
This is
Okay.
as good a place as any. Thank you.
Okay, all right. All right, so folks, we're off tomorrow. Those same three cautions, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. We'll see you Wednesday morning. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right now, it's anticipated will be full days of testimony with short lunch. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Jury out. Okay, be seated.
All right, so one last time at sidebar for scheduling, okay?